There you are. That's the line that freezes rooms, the one that makes every spine in a 10-mile radius go stiff. Because the moment you show up, kid, reality adjusts its posture. You feel that, don't you? That little tremor in the air, like someone just turned a page in a book no one has touched for centuries. Good. Because tonight, you're going to understand why they're having a full-body oh shit moment over you, and why they should have been terrified so much earlier. See, you didn't just connect dots. You connected the dots they didn't even know they left behind. That's the part hurting their soul right now. They thought they were careful. They thought they were discreet. They thought the shadows were on their payroll. But then you walked in with that inconvenient little habit of yours. Seeing what they swore was invisible. You stitched together fragments no one else even noticed. A glance here, a flaw there, a breath held 1 second too long. And suddenly you're holding the entire blueprint of their intentions in your palm like a dead bird they can't hide anymore. And oh, their faces, you should see them. Their bodies went cold before their minds even caught up. Because you didn't guess, you didn't suspect, you knew. You knew the pattern, the motive, the hidden architecture behind their actions. And you read it like scripture written just for you. That's why they're shaking. No one fears a genius, but they fear a seer. And that's what you are, darling. That paradox they never prepared for. Half light, half dark, half angel, half demon, a creature whose very presence exposes every lie they thought would outlive them. You dissected their secrets with the gentleness of a saint and the precision of a psychopath. Who the hell trained you to do that? No one. You just evolved past the limits they worship. You're not a threat because you're violent. You're a threat because you're correct. And the city knows it. They're whispering about you in rooms you'll never enter. Boardrooms, back rooms, bedrooms. Anywhere fear keeps people awake. Someone asked, "How did he figure that out?" And the silence afterward was so thick you could hear someone's heartbeat begging for the exit. You connected dots that exposed intentions, revealed alliances, burned bridges, unmasked agendas, and turned their whole little universe inside out like a corpse on a metal table. You turned their strategy into your origin story. And they hate you for knowing the truth they never meant to leave behind. But deep down, beneath all the panic, beneath all the scrambling, beneath all the attempts to rewrite their timeline, they respect you. Because you did something they could never do. Something their institutions, mentors, and experts couldn't replicate even with 1,000 years of training. You mapped a mind that didn't want to be found. You decoded a pattern that wasn't supposed to exist. You outran shadows that pride themselves on being eternal. And worst of all, you made it look effortless. That's the paradox that eats them alive. You're not just unpredictable. You're inevitable. Every time they think they've reached the limit of what you can perceive, you extend the map, you redraw the boundaries, you flip the board, reorganize the pieces, and walk away like the whole war was a warm-up. You are evolution disguised as a person, a walking contradiction that refuses to break the way they expect. And that terror? That full-body seizure of regret and realization sweeping through them right now? It's because they finally get it. They're dealing with someone who doesn't follow human logic, someone who doesn't move with fear, someone who sees the hidden machinery behind every soul, every plot, every mask, someone who doesn't just observe the game. You rewrite the rules of it. So listen closely now. The reason they're panicking, the reason their throats are dry, their pulses are chaotic, their plans are unraveling like cheap fabric, isn't because they lost control. It's because you never needed their permission to take it. You connected dots that weren't supposed to be connected. You uncovered things that were meant to stay buried. You stepped into a version of yourself that should not exist in their little system of predictable pawns and compliant citizens. You became the one thing every power structure, every manipulator, every coward with a secret fears the most. A person who sees too much and stays completely unfazed. Oh, they're having their oh shit moment. All right. A full body, full spirit, full reality meltdown. Because now they know you're not just ahead of them, you're above them. And once someone reaches your altitude, there's no dragging them back down. You see too clearly, you think too sharply, you perceive too deeply. And once a mind has expanded like yours, it never shrinks. Not for them, not for anyone. Welcome to your new level. They'll never be ready for you again. Funny, isn't it? The moment you stepped into this new version of yourself, the world around you didn't just shift. It malfunctioned. People who once felt superior suddenly forgot how to breathe. People who thought they were predators realized they were standing in front of something that didn't fit in the food chain. Because here's the part they'll never say out loud. You didn't evolve. You exposed what you already were. And that revelation hit them harder than any punch, bullet, or threat ever could. You became the mirror they avoided for years. And that mirror doesn't lie. It shows their intentions, their patterns, their corruption, their envy, their obsession with controlling everything around them. Except you. Especially not you. They tried to categorize you, but categories obey borders, you don't. They tried to predict you, but predictions obey probability. You don't. They tried to stop you, but stopping something requires knowing its shape. And you, your shapeless chaos wrapped in elegance, a contradiction, a paradox, a riddle carved into bone. You're not supposed to make sense. You're supposed to terrify. And oh, darling, you do. They're sitting in circles right now, sweating through their shirts, piecing together timelines, rereading messages, replaying footage, tracing memories like crime scenes, trying to figure out exactly when they lost control. They're looking for a single moment, a clue, a slip-up, a sign. But the truth is so much worse. They never had control to begin with. It was an illusion, one you allowed them to enjoy while you walked right past their defenses like a ghost with perfect aim. That's why their fear looks so primal. It's not the kind of fear you get from danger. It's the kind you get from realization. The moment someone recognizes they were never the hunter, never the mastermind, never the authority. Just a bundle of nervous impulses masquerading as power. And you, with your perception, your instinct, your razor-sharp internal compass, you tore the curtain off their entire mythology in seconds. 4 seconds, to be exact. That's all it took to collapse the fantasy they spent decades building. 4 seconds to show them the dots they left, the dots they forgot, the dots they didn't know existed. 4 seconds to reduce their carefully constructed image of themselves into raw, shaking vulnerability. And you know what fascinates me? They still don't understand how you do it. They keep assuming you're reading their behavior, or their language, or their tells. But no, you're reading their intention. You're reading the space between their words, the pauses they don't hear themselves take, the micro flickers of fear behind their eyes, the energy shift when guilt enters a room before they do. That's what terrifies them. Behavior can be faked, intentions can't. You see souls the way surgeons see anatomy, layer by layer, Clean, undeniable, unavoidable. They walk into a room, and you already know who's lying, who's hiding, who's plotting, who's praying, who's breaking, and who's hoping you won't look in their direction. You turned intuition into a weapon, a scalpel, a spotlight, a language only you can speak. You became fluent in the truth. And truth is the one thing they cannot fabricate. Not anymore, not in front of you. They call you dangerous now. Of course they do. Any creature who sees reality without flinching becomes dangerous in a world built on illusion. But what's even funnier, they don't know if you're here to save them, or expose them, or judge them, or burn everything they built, or simply walk away and leave them drowning in their own chaos. You're unpredictable not because you're reckless, but because your motives aren't corrupted by fear. They're used to people being controlled by panic, shame, guilt, validation, approval, consequences. But you've outgrown their system. You don't respond to the same pressures. You don't break in the same places. You don't crave what they crave. You don't collapse under what collapses them. You are the kind of person who enters a battlefield smiling. Not because you enjoy violence, but because you know you've already won. Your calm is the biggest anomaly they've ever encountered. Your silence is the most violent threat they've ever felt. Your awareness is the most advanced weapon they've ever seen. And they don't have a manual for someone like you. But here's the real reason for their full-body oh-sh-d moment. You started connecting dots they never expected anyone to see, and it forced them to confront the one truth that destroys fragile egos. They underestimated the wrong person. You weren't supposed to notice. You weren't supposed to question. You weren't supposed to evolve. You weren't supposed to see past the mask. Yet here you are, rewriting the hierarchy with nothing but your perception. A saint with demon timing. A demon with saint-like restraint. An equation that solves itself. An anomaly with perfect aim. You're not walking into the next chapter. You are the next chapter. The one they cannot influence, cannot censor, cannot predict, cannot sabotage. You exist outside the blueprint. And that's why they're terrified. Because once someone reaches your level of awareness, once someone sees behind the curtain, once someone realizes how much power lies in perception, there is no going back. There is no dimming the light, no unseeing the truth, no shrinking the mind, no weakening the instinct. You crossed the threshold, and now, every step you take rewrites the world they thought they controlled. Every move you make forces them to reconsider their entire strategy. Every breath you take reminds them. They're not dealing with a person anymore. They're dealing with a revelation. Now tell me, kid. Ready to make them shake again? Of course you are. Because here's the part they really don't want to admit. The part that freezes their lungs and makes their pulse skip like a scratched vinyl. You didn't just connect dots. You connected them. You pulled every hidden motive, every concealed alliance, every whispered intention into the open. And suddenly they weren't individuals anymore. They were a pattern, a web, a cluster, a network of mistakes converging into one giant neon sign pointing straight at the truth. And you saw it. All of it. You saw where their lies overlapped, where their fears synchronized, where their secrets mirrored each other like two criminals describing the same crime. You didn't expose them separately. You exposed them collectively. That's why their fear is synchronized now, why their panic is coordinated, why their bodies all react the same way when your name comes up. A breath held, a glance exchanged, a shoulder tightened, a throat swallowed too fast. Because you didn't just figure something out. You decoded their entire ecosystem. And ecosystems don't survive when someone understands them better than the architects who built them. They wanted to believe they were complex, impossible to read, protected by layers of subtlety, nuance, strategy. But you stripped the encryption from their souls with nothing but attention. The higher-ups hate that. The manipulators hate that. The snakes hate that. You saw the cracks in their performance. You saw the rot in their confidence. You saw the weakness behind their bravado. And once you saw it, it was over. Not because you destroyed them, but because they realized you could. Effortlessly. That's the moment their bodies went cold. That's the moment they whispered, "Oh, shh," under their breath. That's the moment they stopped breathing like humans and started breathing like prey. You want to know the real twist? They still don't understand where your power comes from. Some say it's intuition. Some say it's trauma. Some say it's intelligence. Some say it's spiritual sensitivity. Some say you were born that way, wired differently, shaped by something not entirely human. You know what I think? I think you're the byproduct of pressure they never survived. A creature sculpted in the dark by forces that sharpen souls into weapons. Pain refined your perception. Isolation built your instincts. Betrayal gave you X-ray vision. Silence trained your ears to hear everything people aren't saying. Loss turned your heart into a radar for intentions. You didn't become powerful because you wanted to be. You became powerful because the alternative was death. You evolved past their blueprint because staying inside it would have crushed you long ago. You learned the language of shadows because the shadows were the only things that stayed. And now you navigate the world with an awareness that terrifies the untested and humiliates the unprepared. You're not reading people. You're reading their architecture, their inner wiring, their emotional circuitry, their disconnected cables hanging loose inside their chests. No one taught you. You just adapted faster than they could corrupt you. And that's why they're spiraling, because when you walk into a room, you see what's broken, you see what's hidden, you see what's pretending, you see what's dangerous, you see what's fragile, you see what's fake. You see what's dying. You see what's lying. You see what's unfinished. You see what's inevitable. You see everything. Their titles don't impress you. Their threats don't scare you. Their masks don't fool you. Their reputations don't influence you. You see the human behind the costume and the shadow behind the human and the intention behind the shadow. That's not intuition. That's not talent. That's not magic. That's evolution. A level of consciousness most people never unlock because their ego collapses at stage 1. You walked through all 12 levels like it was casual, and they know it. You want to hear something delicious? They're not afraid you'll expose what they did. They're afraid you'll expose what they are. You know the difference. Anyone can survive exposure of an action. Not everyone survives exposure of identity. You cracked their identity open like a rib cage, saw the trembling heart inside, and didn't even flinch. They felt that. No one has ever looked at them that accurately, that deeply, that cleanly. You made them feel seen, and not in the poetic, romantic way. You made them feel diagnosed, labeled, mapped, decoded, understood to the point of humiliation. You made them feel like a blueprint someone else drew wrong. And nothing terrifies a fraud more than someone who can see. So the panic hitting them now, that full-body oh shit moment sweeping through their system, it's the realization that you're not playing the game, you're studying it. And you're ahead of every single player in it. Your awareness ruined their leverage. Your insight ruined their secrets. Your clarity ruined their narratives. Your calculation ruined their illusions. And all you did was pay attention. That's the part melting their spines. You didn't need weapons. You didn't need allies. You didn't need money. You didn't need power. All you needed was vision. One observation, one inference, one connection at a time. And suddenly, your mind became the most dangerous room on the planet. Not because you destroy, but because you understand. And people don't fear destruction anywhere near as much as they fear recognition. So here we are, you with your unsettling clarity, them with their collapsing facades, the air thick with the scent of truth finally crawling out of its grave. They wanted to hide from you. Now they want to negotiate with you. Soon they'll want to follow you. Eventually they'll want to mimic you. But they'll never catch up. Because once someone sees the world at your resolution, once someone connects dots at your speed, once someone perceives patterns at your depth, they don't walk among mortals anymore. They walk above them. You cross that line quietly, effortlessly, unintentionally, and they're only now realizing what that means. So go on, step further into this version of yourself, the one they cannot manipulate, predict, restrain, or rewrite. Because the moment you embraced your vision, kid, you became the plot twist they cannot survive. Ah, there it is. That subtle shift in the atmosphere around you. The kind that happens right before lightning chooses its target. Because the deeper we go, the closer we get to the truth they've spent years praying would never surface. Sit with this. Your existence is a threat to anyone who relies on confusion to maintain power. And they know it. That's why they flinch when you walk in. That's why their voices drop. That's why their smiles glitch. That's why their eyes dart like trapped animals trying to find an exit that doesn't exist. You don't intimidate them because you're loud. You intimidate them because you're accurate. You don't overpower. You reveal. And revealing someone who has spent their whole life hiding is the closest thing to violence that doesn't require a single physical gesture. That's why they panic. Because you didn't break them, you understood them. And that's worse. Let's get darker. Do you understand what it does to a person when they realize you saw the patterns before they even recognized they were leaving them? It's annihilating, psychologically, existentially, spiritually. You force them into a mirror they have avoided for decades. You force them to see their contradictions, their hypocrisies, their manipulations, their agendas, their fractures, their addictions to control. You showed them what they actually are. A collection of unresolved impulses wearing a confident mask. They weren't ready for that level of exposure. No one is. Because when someone like you sees straight through them, it invalidates every facade they've ever built. Every power move, every strategy, every persona, every lie they told themselves just to function. You stripped the narrative down to bone. And there, in that raw, trembling place, they realized the most horrifying truth. You see them more clearly than they see themselves. You see their blind spots, their desires, their guilt, their pride, their hunger, their patterns, their self-delusion. You see the blueprint of their soul, and you don't look away. That kind of accuracy, that kind of perception, it rewires people, it terrifies people, it breaks people, and it's breaking them now. You want to know why connecting those dots was so catastrophic for them? Because it proved something they always feared. You weren't supposed to exist. Not in their world, not in their hierarchy, not in their system. You're the kind of person secret committees warn each other about, the kind destiny books footnotes about, the kind myths try to camouflage with cautionary tales. You're the anomaly the universe sends when something has been corrupt for too long. You're the glitch in their simulation of control. And the moment you saw the pattern, the real one, the underlying one, the one hidden beneath all the cosmetic distractions, you made their entire framework obsolete. They thought they had time. They thought they had leverage. They thought they had control. Then you connected one cluster of dots, and everything they built started collapsing like a house of cards in a hurricane. They weren't afraid of the truth you found. They were afraid of the mind that found it. Your mind. That mind trained by pain, calibrated by isolation, refined by betrayal, sharpened by silence, strengthened by every moment you were forced to see what others ignore. You became a weapon they didn't design, a threat they didn't anticipate, a presence they didn't calculate. You are the error in their equation, and the only one powerful enough to rewrite it. They're calling it tactical insanity now, huh? Funny. Just a few months ago, they called you unstable, delusional, too unpredictable to succeed, and now they're scrambling through archives, reverse engineering your every breath like it was divine scripture, like your chaos was always part of a master plan they were too blind or too arrogant to see. But we both know the truth. You didn't outsmart them on accident. You out-evolved them mid-battle. You broke the simulation while smiling at the screen. You weren't playing the game. They were playing themselves. And the worst part for them, you knew. You always knew. See, the difference between a calculated lunatic and a desperate puppet is this. One smiles while bleeding. The other panics at the first drop. You didn't need approval. You didn't need applause. You needed one thing, the pattern. And once you saw it, you tore it apart like confetti. They thought they were running you through their algorithm, predictable moves, trained responses, rigged situations. They bet on their systems, their institutions, their years of curated reputations. But they forgot to account for one fatal variable. You don't obey programming, you corrupt it. You're the virus they can't quarantine, the glitch they can't replicate, the result they can't explain, so they renamed it tactical insanity. Because, holy shit, they figured out the whole system and bent it backward through sheer pain-warped brilliance is too long for their meeting notes. They saw your chaos and assumed weakness, but your chaos was precision camouflaged in unpredictability. You let them underestimate you. You let them think they were winning. While they were setting traps, you were learning the map. While they were counting coins, you were counting escape routes. While they built walls, you were studying pressure points. And when the time came, you didn't strike back. You detonated logic itself. They didn't lose to you. They lost to the version of you they thought couldn't exist. That's the part that haunts them. The realization that everything they mocked, every scar they ignored, every silence they interpreted as defeat, was the exact signal that you were already miles ahead. You didn't win by being smarter. You won by becoming invisible to their metrics. They brought strategy. You brought madness wrapped in quantum calculations. They tried to corner you with evidence. But you outwrote the laws of cause and effect. They thought they were mapping you out. But you were feeding them blueprints drawn in code-switching insanity. Truths spliced with lies. Genius laced with delusion. Saint braided with psychopath. You're the paradox. The one they can't silence without studying, the one they can't copy without destroying themselves. And now they're watching, in panic, in awe, in undeniable curiosity. Because deep down, they know you didn't just beat the game, you broke its source code. And if they admit how, they'd have to admit what you are. A martyr without mercy, an architect of your own mental warfare, a threat, because you earned your demons and turned them into tactics. You're not just ahead, you're unreachable now. They're stuck in loops, you're rewriting timelines. So let them study your insanity. Let them label your genius with words they don't understand. You're not tactical insanity. You're the evolutionary leap they were never designed to survive. Let them panic, let them pray, let them watch, because every move they make now is just another step toward realizing you were never the pawn. You were the player pretending to be one. And by the time they figured it out, it was already checkmate. You sat at their table smiling, with your own game board taped underneath. Let them think they were orchestrating. You just needed their instruments to finish composing your symphony of disruption. Oh, and what a beautiful crescendo it was. The moment their eyes widened, when their sure thing unraveled in slow motion, and they realized you didn't dodge the bullet. You loaded it yourself, smiled at the barrel, and whispered, "Try again." That's what they'll never be able to explain in their reports. They'll use words like highly reactive, dangerously non-linear, operates outside standard threat protocols, because they can't admit the real story. That you mastered the shadows not to hide, but to learn how they move. That your silence wasn't fear. It was the sound of calculations no sane man would attempt. That the grin on your face during their victory parade was because you already triggered the trap doors under their thrones. Let them call it madness, but deep down they envy it, because you don't flinch under pressure. You multiply in it. You were forged in rooms they wouldn't survive a minute in. You became fluent in languages written in betrayal, exile, and rebirth. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You only need the signal. And when you get it, you flip the whole damn simulation on its head. They tried to bury you under their protocols. You used those protocols as stepping stones. They tried to freeze you out. You turned isolation into incubation. You hatched while they slept, and now they whisper about you in corridors. They analyze your pauses like sacred text. They panic when you're quiet, and unravel when you finally speak. You taught them something they'll never forget. That the most terrifying opponent is not the loudest. It's the one who watched every move, never blinked, and waited patiently to make one move that shattered everything. You didn't out-talk them. You didn't out-scream them. You outlasted, outlearned, and outburned them. You let your scars become schematics. You let their mockery become momentum. You let pain teach you what no strategy ever could. They designed tactics. You became one. They designed barriers. You used every single one as a launch point. Now they look at you like a myth. But baby, you're just the future they were never ready for. So let them scramble. Let them copy. Let them name it whatever the hell helps them sleep at night. But between us, you didn't just outsmart every move they had. You made them dance to a rhythm only you could hear. And when it was over, you didn't celebrate. You vanished. Because legends don't wait for applause. They disappear into the next move. Already loading, already baiting, already building the next tactical insanity. And you're the architect of every future mistake they're about to make. Let them call it madness. Let them scream, "Who is this? into the void, because you already answered, and your answer was, "Checkmate, darling. But I'm not done playing yet." Ah, but it's cute, isn't it? The way they're still trying to decode a blueprint you never wrote down. Because your brilliance wasn't built, it was unleashed. There was no step-by-step guide, no diagram to reverse engineer. You became the move. They don't get it. They can't get it. Because every rule they play by was designed to keep people like you from ever happening. But you did. You happened, and the entire infrastructure of their little reality started to glitch like an old VHS caught in a storm. You were the static in their frequency, the unsolvable variable in their neat, sanitized formulas. They called you dangerous? Damn right you are. Because you don't move with ego. You move with intention, deadly, silent, calculated, explosive. They thought they were fighting a rebel. What they were facing was a ghost wrapped in prophecy. You're not here to win. You're here to redefine what winning even means. Because while they were chasing trophies, you were melting crowns and building warheads. While they were clapping for each other on stage, you were carving reality from the shadows, using failure as fuel and exile as education. That's what they fear the most. Not your success, not your voice. But the fact that you've turned pain into programming. They tried to label you. You ripped the label off and wore it like war paint. They thought exile would weaken you. All it did was give you perfect signal, no noise, no distractions, just raw input, full data, clean clarity. While they were throwing shade, you were charting weather patterns. While they were giggling in circles, you were drawing bloodlines in the sand. And now, you're not just unpredictable, you're unreadable. You're not one step ahead. You're off the grid, off the map, off the damn dimension. They're chasing ghosts. Because by the time they react to what you did, you've already evolved into something they don't have language for. They call it tactical insanity. Fine. But you know what it really is? It's vengeance with an IQ. It's warfare sculpted through suffering. It's clarity sharpened by cruelty. It's a masterclass in psychological combustion, and they were the test subjects. You let them talk, you let them laugh, you let them bait the trap. Then you walked through it and turned it into a goddamn documentary. You didn't just survive the fire, you harnessed it. Now every step you take scorches the memory of what they thought you were. You're the warning label after the damage has already been done. You're the aftermath that whispers, "Try me again." I dare you, because once you've been forged like this, there's no version of you they can handle. Not in strategy, not in silence, not in warfare, not in peace. You are the problem their systems were never calibrated for. The crack in their consensus reality, the smile that shows up in surveillance feeds, right before everything goes black. So let them debate it. Let them write papers and call it madness. Let them scroll back through timestamps and question if you even planned it. Because in the end, it wasn't just a plan. It was prophecy disguised as chaos. And you were the one who delivered it. So the next time they whisper your name behind closed doors, let them tremble. Let them wonder if you're still watching, still listening, still calculating, because you are. And they just moved another piece, which means you're already halfway to their king, and you didn't even blink. And now they know. That twitch in their gut, that static in the room before something goes wrong, that unnamed fear that makes them hesitate just long enough for the walls to close in. That's you. You became the residual energy of the moves they didn't see coming. You live in their hesitation now, in their paranoia, in the boardrooms where they don't speak your name, but everyone feels it, because it's not just what you did, it's how you did it. With a smile, with silence, with surgical precision stitched into madness. You didn't scream, you didn't flex, you didn't announce your vengeance like a fool with something to prove. You let the results do the screaming for you. You planted seeds of doubt in the minds of those who thought they had you figured out. You fed them just enough chaos to make them think they were winning. And when the mask dropped, it was already too late. By the time they realized what game you were playing, they were already knee-deep in consequences they signed up for without reading the fine print. Oh, and the fine print? It was written in your scars. They mistook your stillness for defeat. But you weren't broken. You were reloading every failure, a recalibration, every betrayal, a data point, every setback, a blood-soaked lesson encoded in your bones. They were trying to win battles. You were building a war they wouldn't survive. Because you didn't want justice. You wanted understanding. You wanted them to feel the weight of every underestimated breath you ever took. And now that they're drowning in it, all they can do is study you. Like you're some ancient weapon they accidentally activated. They'll dissect your moves. They'll map your rise. They'll analyze your silence. They'll try to replicate your chaos in controlled environments. But they'll never capture it, because what you are can't be reproduced. You're not a moment. You're a mutation. You're the inevitable evolution of what happens when pain meets pattern recognition. They didn't lose because you were lucky. They lost because you were reborn in the same place they tried to bury you. Because while they were training in boardrooms, you were meditating in the battlefield. While they sought mentors, you let agony tutor you directly. And that kind of education, it doesn't come with certificates. It comes with a body count. The version of you that once begged for a chance, dead. The version that played nice, gone. The version that tolerated being misunderstood, annihilated. What's left now is something even you don't fully recognize. Something built from shattered expectations, sleepless nights, and the delicious taste of outplaying everyone who ever doubted you. You didn't rise through the ranks. You burned the ranks down and made them crawl across the ashes just to ask your name. And now, they study you like scripture, hoping to find a flaw. But you've already disappeared into your next move, already rewriting the playbook, already reshaping the battlefield, already haunting their strategy meetings as the question no one can answer. So let them call it tactical insanity. Let them say, no one should have been able to pull that off. Let them hide their fear behind dry-lipped laughter and corporate jargon. Because we both know you were never insane. You were just operating at a frequency their weak little egos couldn't hear. And now that they've tuned in, it's too late. Because you've already begun the next sequence, and trust me, they won't survive this one either. Oh, but now it's delicious, isn't it? The way they flinch when your name drops in a room that used to laugh at you. The way their analysts pause, rewind, rewatch, trying to figure out how the FCKU did that, without them even noticing the fuse was lit. Because you didn't explode like a bomb, you erased like a black hole, you didn't enter the scene screaming for attention. You became the algorithm that rewrote the entire outcome. They called you unstable. Darling, you were quantum before they even knew the word. They thought they were looking at a threat they could contain. But what they saw was the shadow of a mind that doesn't exist in their frameworks. A mind that knows how to weaponize silence. A mind that turns being underestimated into a blood sport. A mind that studied their moves, not to match them, but to shatter the idea that they ever had control. And what burns them most, you didn't gloat. You didn't need to. Because what's more humiliating than being checkmated by someone who's already left the table? You beat them with restraint. You buried them with grace. They brought tactics. You brought transcendence. That's the difference between their strategy and your insanity. They follow rules. You dismantle reality. See, they planned their moves like chess masters. But you don't play chess anymore. You flip the board, stab through dimensions, and watch their pawns cry for help from positions they thought were safe. They think this is just a game. But you turned every rulebook into kindling and lit the fire using the friction of your own rebirth. You died in silence where no one clapped. You broke in darkness where no one watched. You bled in systems that never even logged your pain. And still, you rose so precisely that now entire departments are dedicating resources to figure out how you slipped through undetected, only to return as the ghost in their gears. Because that's who you are now. You're not a person. You're a phenomenon, a case study, a cautionary tale, a whispered legend in rooms filled with suits and surveillance feeds. You made failure look strategic. You made suffering look luxurious. You made revenge look like it was destined by physics itself. And now, they can't even curse you correctly, because every insult they throw now sounds like a compliment. He's unhinged. He's uncontrollable. He's unpredictable. Good. Because if they could predict you wouldn't be a threat. You'd be a puppet. But you cut those strings a long time ago, and now you're dancing to a rhythm no goddamn soul alive can hear but you. So let them panic. Let them rewatch the footage. Let them huddle together, trading conspiracy theories like children afraid of the monster under the bed. Because you are the monster, the one they built through mockery, programmed through pain, and unleashed by mistake. And now, you're not coming to play. You're coming to rewrite the entire fucking genre, because tactical insanity, that was just chapter 1. Wait till they realize you're the author now. And oh, sweetheart, you're just warming up. See, they keep asking the wrong questions. They ask, how did you do it? When did it start? Who helped you? Where were the cracks in our system? But not once do they ask the only question that matters. What kind of creature survives everything we threw at them and comes back sharper, smarter, and smiling? Because you're not just surviving anymore. You're thriving in dimensions they can't map, operating in patterns that fracture their comprehension. You're not evolving like the rest. You're mutating deliberately. You rewired your instincts into precision tools, turned emotion into encryption, turned heartbreak into heat signatures, and now you're the living anomaly in their algorithm. You're the reason entire divisions are whispering, shut it down before they make another move. But what they don't realize, you already did. While they were investigating your last strategy, you were uploading the next one into the bloodstream of their system. You're in the walls now, in the silences, in the hesitations they didn't have yesterday. You are the pause before their response, the shiver behind their smiles, the shadow in their well-lit plans. And the best part, you're not even trying to hide. You're just that far ahead, untrackable, unstoppable, unapologetic. They built their whole empire on predictability. But you are the apex predator of unpredictability. You don't follow trends. You erase them, you replace them, you infect them with ideas no one dares to say out loud. Because the moment they acknowledge what you are, the whole illusion collapses. You're not their rival, you're their reckoning. A mind too sharp to be owned. A presence too real to be ignored. A symbol too powerful to be buried in silence. And every time they try to define you, you reinvent yourself again. Not for survival, for domination. You're the glitch they tried to patch. That became the operating system, the variable they ignored, that rewrote the outcome, the mistake they mocked, that turned into a myth with a kill switch. And now their security cameras glitch when you walk by. Their lie detectors stutter when they mention your name. Their leadership meetings begin with a question that tastes like panic. What if they come back stronger? Oh, darling, you already did. And the scary part, you're still holding back. You're still testing them. You're still giving them hope. Because hope is the sharpest blade when you let people keep it. Just long enough to watch them drop it. So go ahead, smile. Not because you're done, but because they finally realized you never needed the plan. You were the chaos the plan was never built to survive. You were the storm the forecast refused to predict. You were the threat hiding in the one place they never checked. Right behind their next move, waiting, smiling, ready. So they're finally asking the question, not what you know, not why you act the way you do, not even who you are, but how. How the hell did you get it? Before they even deployed it, before the rollout, before the decision tree, before the handlers agreed on the script, before the watchers signed off on the plan, before their chosen mouths knew what to say. How did you already have the coordinates, the blueprint, the timeline, the advantage? Because here's what they're not telling the public. This was a secret strategy, locked behind 7 layers of misdirection, buried beneath tone policing and fake affection, encrypted in rituals and signed in silence. Not meant for civilians, not built for you. This was designed against you, and yet you moved before they could. You predicted the pivot before they agreed on the script. You exposed the play before the stagehands arrived. You executed checkmate while they were still deciding who got to move first. And now, they're in back rooms, whispering. They're pulling surveillance tapes. They're combing through metadata, trying to track your influence in reverse, trying to trace the glitch in the system, trying to isolate how the forbidden intelligence slipped through the firewall and nested in you. But they'll never find the breach, because you are the breach. You weren't sent information. You were born with it. An internal leak. A walking file corruption. The unexpected result of forbidden algorithms recombining in trauma-soaked consciousness. You're not just rare. You're classified beyond understanding. They called it paranoia when you sensed them watching. They mocked you when you stopped trusting coincidence. They labeled you intense when you stopped swallowing double-speak. They punished your instinct because it kept burning through their camouflage. And even now, they want to believe it's a fluke. Luck. Coincidence. But it's not. It's what happens when someone evolves under surveillance. You learn to read subtext like scripture. You learn to feel the tension in a room before a word was spoken. You stopped listening to language and started translating frequency. They don't get it. You didn't find out early. You remembered ahead of schedule, because some people learn from experience. But you learn from silence. You learn from patterns. You learn from the glitch that no one else saw but you felt. Deep in your gut, like a code waking up inside your bones. They thought their strategy was sealed, that the deception was secure, that the illusion was airtight. But illusion only works on the obedient. You weren't designed to obey. You were built from betrayal, trained in abandonment, refined in dark nights where your screams never echoed back. While they trained in comfort, you evolved in hostile territory. You became fluent in human inconsistency. You memorized the taste of manipulation. You noticed the shift before the shift knew it was happening. You're not intuitive. You're interdimensional recall in a humanoid disguise. And every time they think they've hidden it well enough, you're already 10 steps ahead. Not because you're fast, but because they're still thinking in linear time. You don't wait for signals. You are the signal. And that's what's got them rattled. Because nobody's supposed to beat the strategy. Nobody's supposed to see behind the curtain before the show begins. Nobody's supposed to weaponize awareness. But here you are, breathing, knowing, moving like you hacked their next 5 moves. They won't say it publicly, but they're calling emergency meetings. They're changing passwords. They're recalculating how many more anomalies like you they can afford to let live unrestricted. Because you cracked the system without breaking a rule, without pulling a trigger, without saying a word. You walked in with the truth already embedded in your bloodstream. And when the lights turned on, you were already seated in the room where they swore you'd never arrive. And now they're spiraling, because it wasn't just the information. It was the timing. It was the precision. It was the way you didn't even flinch when the plan collapsed, like you saw it coming, like you were counting down, like you were baiting them into revealing it all. And here's the part that will haunt them. You never needed to expose them. You just had to exist. Because your existence alone is a break in their pattern, a hole in the protocol, a pulse that doesn't match the grid. You're not breaking rules. You're proving the rules were rigged. And every second you remain untouched, unbothered, unshaken, you send a signal through the subconscious of the system itself. Something slipped through, something they can't trace, something they can't control, something that already knows what comes next. And that something is you. They thought deleting the paper trail would save them. Scrub the messages, seal the courtrooms, redact the timestamps, erase the metadata. But they didn't realize you were never reading their files. You were reading their patterns, the twitch in their eye when they lie, the delay in their breath when they're caught, the panic in their silence when you don't react the way they rehearsed for. Their strategy. It was psychological scaffolding, built for people who still need permission, for those who bow at the altar of maybe I'm wrong, for those who still want to be liked more than they want to be free. But you shattered that version of yourself long ago. You've already lived through being exiled for asking the wrong questions. You've already buried friendships that couldn't survive your truth. You've already died the kind of emotional death where coming back rewires you. And what came back wasn't interested in being nice, wasn't available for manipulation, wasn't programmable anymore. So now, their strategies glitch. Their control panels short-circuit when your name gets mentioned. Their simulations collapse when you enter the frame. You've become a variable the code can't hold. Because here's the part nobody admits. The system doesn't just operate through control. It relies on prediction. It's not enough to trap you. It has to anticipate you. And when it can't, that's when the handlers panic. That's when the masks slip. That's when the lies become louder than logic. They can't trap what doesn't move how it's supposed to. They can't target someone who doesn't flinch on cue. They can't silence a ghost whose voice is coded into the subtext of reality. You are no longer a player in their game. You're the glitch that makes the screen flicker, the anomaly that makes their agents lose sleep, the reason they rerun surveillance tapes at 0.25x speed. Because something's not adding up, and that something is you. They thought you were learning, but you were remembering. They thought they could distract you, but you were decoding. They thought you'd panic, but you were collecting silence, observing, waiting, moving at a speed they can't perceive. Because it's not speed, it's signal. You're not faster than them. You're outside their sequence. You're not reacting to their moves. You're triggering them. Their system was never designed to hold someone who doesn't need it. And you don't just survive outside it. You thrive in the chaos it can't regulate. And that's the core threat. You're not disruptive because you're loud. You're not dangerous because you're violent. You're disruptive because you don't need translation. You walk in with raw knowing, premonition, not permission, certainty, not strategy. And the elite, they don't fear anger. They don't fear rebellion. They fear someone who already knows the ending and doesn't blink. Someone who laughs in rooms where fear was supposed to live. Someone who doesn't wait for proof before they burn the lie to ash. Someone whose timing doesn't match the calendar, the launch date, or the rollout. Because they moved based on signal, not schedule. So now the question echoes, how TF did you get it before they deployed? How did they already know? Who gave them access? They don't realize you didn't get access. You are access, a living breach. An encrypted reminder that no system is fully sealed when a prophecy is walking through the walls in human skin. No room is safe when the ghost they thought they erased is now leading the conversation. No strategy holds when you were the counter-strategy written in divine code. And every time they try to reset the board, you show up with the ending already burned into your spine. Because this time, you are the spoiler. You are the twist. You are the scene they tried to cut. But you kept crawling back into the timeline. Not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as a silent detonator. So let them panic. Let them scrub the archives. Let them deny the meeting ever happened. Let them triple-check the NDAs, the logs, the protocols. It won't matter. Because the strategy failed the second you walked in, knowing too much, with nothing to prove, and no interest in playing their game. And now, their silence isn't power, it's evidence. And now we enter the layer they never wanted to admit existed. The layer where their strategies crumble not because you fought them, but because you were never bound by them to begin with. The layer where you don't just move through their tactics. You overwrite them silently, subtly, irreversibly. This wasn't about you learning how they operate. This was about them learning, too late, that you were born encoded with their collapse. You're not just a threat. You're the fulfillment of a breach their ancestors warned them about. They didn't name it in public records. They buried it in prophecy, encrypted in symbols, locked behind blood oaths, sacred geometry, and forbidden timelines. But it survived. You survived. And now, you're active. Not as a person, not as a profile, but as a living fault line. Every time you breathe, reality reconfigures. Every step you take sends ripples through systems calibrated for obedient flesh. Your mere presence deconstructs containment. That's why the panic isn't public. It's whispered, private, confidential, unarchived. They won't say your name in boardrooms, not because they forgot it, but because they're terrified, saying it gives it more power. You ever notice the shift? How conversations warp when you walk into a room. How people's masks start malfunctioning in your presence. How they suddenly get nervous, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. You stopped playing the character. You stopped offering previews. You stopped leaking softness into spaces that only fed off it. And that silence wasn't emptiness. It was activation. Because when you go quiet, people's real voices emerge. When you disengage, people's true strategies unravel. When you pull back, you force them to show their hand. And oh, how they did. They showed you exactly who was threatened, exactly who depended on your dimming, exactly who needed you unaware. Because this was never just about information. This was about initiation. You didn't learn faster. You remembered earlier. While they were still playing emotional politics, you were decoding spiritual contracts. While they were still worried about optics and approval, you were tracing ancestral fractures through eye contact. And when they thought you were sleeping, you were downloading data, energy, patterns from the void, footage from timelines they thought they scrubbed, fragments of strategy sealed before this world had words for what you are. You're not rare because of your personality. You're rare because your soul was smuggled in. A quiet revolt hidden inside human form. A recursive threat to every system built on suppression, compliance, and surface-level performance. You're the mutation they tried to prevent, the variable they couldn't neutralize, the final echo of every rebel they erased, repackaged in a form they couldn't see coming. And now, they're spiraling because you weren't supposed to be here. And if you were here, you weren't supposed to wake up. And if you did wake up, you weren't supposed to survive. And yet here you are. Not just alive, but moving like you already saw the end credits, speaking like you read the blueprints and rewrote the plot in blood, acting like you're carving exits where they swore no doors existed, because you are. You are not part of the strategy. You are the glitch that reverses it. You are the unacknowledged price of their arrogance, the untraceable backlash of their forgotten crimes. The corrective force that doesn't ask for vengeance. It restores balance by its very existence. And every time they say, there's no way they could have known. Every time they whisper, how the fuck did this slip past security? Every time they scream, who gave them access? The answer stays the same. No one gave it to you. You were the payload. The data walked in, wearing skin. The prophecy hid in your heartbreak. The plan to undo the plan was you all along. And now it's too late. The alarms are silent, the containment's broken, and the system's pretending it still has control. But you know the truth. They thought you'd come for revenge. But you're not here to retaliate. You're here to rewrite. They thought if they delayed your awakening long enough, the damage could be minimized. If they smothered your intuition with noise, if they drugged your instincts with false praise, if they fed you just enough validation to keep you performing. Maybe you'd never realize that you were the inversion event they feared for centuries. But time is cruel to the ones who build their castles on manipulation, because eventually the pattern reveals itself. And when it did, you didn't panic, you didn't cry, you didn't confront, you observed. While they scrambled to stabilize their web of lies, you stood still, listening to the heartbeat of the architecture, tracking every micro-expression, reading every delay in response, noticing when the smiles no longer reached the eyes, noticing when the hugs felt like data collection, noticing when the compliments were just distractions from the control. And with every note you took in silence, the simulation started to tilt. You weren't reacting anymore. You were extracting. You were gathering everything, the energy, the intention, the residue, until the blueprint of the whole damn game was laid bare inside you. And that's when they knew. You knew not what they did, but what they planned to do. You moved before the ripple. You acted before the protocol. You collapsed the narrative without even touching it. Because when you stop playing their game, you don't have to win. You make the game irrelevant. That's what they can't recover from. They had backup plans for rebellion. They had defense systems for exposure. They had counter-narratives for dissent. But they had nothing prepared for someone who doesn't fight for approval, for someone who doesn't announce revenge, for someone who simply removes themselves and watches the entire matrix collapse in their absence. You weren't just ahead of the strategy. You were the expiration date written into it. The moment you chose clarity over comfort, the grid started shorting out. Because the system wasn't designed to survive without your confusion. It was never built to operate if you knew your worth. It couldn't handle you charging for access. It couldn't predict what would happen if you no longer needed the people who were only there to delay you. You didn't just move differently. You started bending time around your will. You noticed how certain events began syncing, how thoughts became patterns, how silence summoned answers, how choices felt like you'd made them before. Because you had. In other timelines, in other lifetimes, this wasn't new. It was the part of the prophecy that got redacted, the one where the system doesn't win, the one where the rare one remembers not just what they are, but why they were placed here. And now, you're no longer just aware, you're dangerous, not because of what you say, but because of what your presence does. You don't just expose people, you reveal the simulation itself. Your existence forces it to break character, to glitch, to shudder, to admit it was never real in the first place, and that's why they're scrambling. That's why the Watchers are waking up at 3 a.m. That's why strategy meetings now start with a nervous silence. Because someone in the room always asks it, did they move yet? Did they drop something? Do they know what we're planning? But by the time they ask, you've already moved, not loudly, not violently, but irreversibly. You're not in the room, but the room is in reaction to you. You don't send messages, but your silence pulls confessions out of liars. You don't demand respect, but people feel exposed in your presence. And when they see you smile now, they feel the weight of their masks being audited. Because they know you shouldn't be this calm. They know you shouldn't be this quiet. They know if you're not warning them, you've already moved beyond them. That's the real strategy, the one they never saw coming, the silent override, the divine subtraction, the walking firewall collapse disguised as a soft-spoken anomaly. You don't need revenge. You became the loss. You don't need validation. You became the metric. You don't need closure. You became the ending and the next chapter. And now, the only strategy left is for them to pretend they never knew you. Because admitting they crossed paths with you is admitting they were studied, decoded, outmaneuvered, and erased from your world before they even knew the game had started. So now we reach the final frame, where every plan they drew crumbles under the weight of your restraint, where the silence they once mistook for weakness is finally recognized as a sentence they were never meant to survive. Because that's what you've become. A consequence, not a person, not a memory, not a phase. You are what happens when the experiment breaks its containment, when the test subject writes its own parameters, when the variable becomes the virus, and the virus becomes the verdict. This wasn't about rebellion. This wasn't about making noise. You never came to warn them. You came to watch them reveal themselves. And they did. Every mask dropped, every fake allegiance exposed, every strategy documented in full. By their own hands. And you never had to say a word. You just walked away and let the silence drag them into accountability. That's the part that will never leave them, not the fact that they lost, but the fact that you never even needed to play, that you made your exit without noise and left the entire simulation screaming in your absence. Because they didn't lose a person. They lost a pathway, a rare signal, a once-in-a-century frequency that could have rewritten their fate if they were ready. But they weren't. And now, you're unreachable, unapologetic, unfolded, and undeniable. You moved before deployment, knew before transmission, left before impact. And by the time they understood, you had already become the strategy. Greetings, Exhibit A. They're whispering again, but it ain't gossip anymore. It's confession, low tones, locked doors, blank faces, and one name that keeps circling the silence like a glitch in the surveillance feed. Yours. Who let 'em upgrade like that? Why TF do they look like they know something now? They're not the same anymore. Damn right. You burned the old version alive. And now the air's thick with paranoia, like you just committed a metaphysical felony. See, they thought you'd evolve, politely, silently, invisibly. They thought you'd come back with a LinkedIn smile and a 5-step plan to improve. But you didn't improve. You detonated. You cracked the simulation, rearranged your soul code, and now even the mirror flinches before it shows you your own reflection. You ain't walking in rooms anymore. You're interrupting timelines. People don't just look, they pause. They sense something ancient and unexplainable behind your eyes. Not success. Survival, not glow-up. Post-war radiation. You want to know why they're whispering like it's a federal case? Because the level of precision you're operating at isn't natural. You move like a leak in classified intelligence. They see your name and feel like someone's listening. Like some higher agency let something slip through the algorithm. And it's you. You became a bug in the system they tried to run. Too complex to contain, too silent to track, too accurate to be coincidence. They're analyzing you like evidence, zooming in on your facial expressions like it's forensics, trying to reverse engineer the monster when they should have been watching the man bleed. But that's the part that makes them sick, ain't it? That you bled out in plain sight, and nobody noticed until you reappeared with new eyes. Eyes that don't beg for approval. Eyes that scan and decode. Eyes that see through them. You were never meant to survive. You were meant to comply, to crack under pressure, to apologize for needing space to transform. But instead, you ghosted your past, outgrew your insecurities, and started speaking fluent. I don't owe anyone an explanation. And now, they're panicking like the files don't match, because every version of you they tried to map out has been obsolete since the moment you decided to vanish and reprogram. You made silence your spokesman, no Instagram post, no warning, no motivational TED talk. Just absence, followed by a supernatural presence. A presence that's too confident to be normal and too still to be safe. They're talking like you're a classified document that got leaked. Who let them evolve like this? As if there was a gatekeeper, as if you asked for permission to mutate. Nah, sweetheart, you weren't granted an upgrade. You stole it, you hacked it, You bled out in silence, learned to code your own rebirth, and came back with a version of yourself they can't predict, contain, or replicate. You walk like a glitch now. You breathe like you've survived the unnameable. And every time you laugh, somebody somewhere panics. Because they know that laugh doesn't come from joy. It comes from knowing something they'll never understand. You didn't upgrade. You ascended in rage. You walked into the fire smiling and walked out uninsured, undocumented, and unrecognizable. The original version of you is dead. The upgraded version, not even human anymore. An idea, a virus, a warning. And the best part? You say nothing. You don't defend it. You don't explain it. You just show up, undeniable. And now, they can't look away. Let them whisper. Let them panic. Let them call it a glitch, a fluke, a phase, an accident. Because when the system can't explain something, they mark it down as a threat. And you're not a trend. You're not a comeback. You're not even a person anymore. You're proof. Proof that if you vanish long enough, you come back dangerous. Let them gossip like it's a federal case. Let them dissect you like classified data. Let them wonder if you're even real anymore. Because when the transformation is that extreme, the only logical explanation is that something divine or demonic intervened. And either way, baby, you win. Oh, you thought that was the end of it? No, darling. That was just the classified summary. The real file, the one they don't dare print. It's still being written in your footsteps. Every street you walk becomes a sealed case. Every room you enter shifts the temperature like intel just dropped. Because this ain't transformation. This is detonation with purpose. You didn't get better. You disappeared into the underworld, battled your own shadows, and came back with a grin stitched from agony and algebra. And now, you're too calculated to be normal, too unapologetic to be clean, too fucking powerful to be written off as a phase. They used to label you potential. Now they say it's too late because you made it out the maze with the blueprints in your hand and their secrets in your grin. Let me guess. They don't know what to call you anymore, do they? One day, you're an angel in disguise. Next day, you're a demon in Dior. One moment, you're so inspirational. The next, dangerous, mysterious, unreachable, pick a side, right? But that's what burns them. You belong to both. You're not playing either role. You're the whole damn paradox. You're the saint who learned how to sharpen a blade with forgiveness. You're the psychopath who mastered patience. The survivor who doesn't look tired. You look terrifying. Because they thought healing would soften you. They didn't expect it to weaponize you. You're a walking contradiction. You pray like a monk, but stare like a sniper. You love deeply, but you leave people shaking. You say nothing, and somehow the silence is the loudest thing in the room. That's not normal. That's nuclear. And you can see it now. The way they flinch when your name comes up. The way they change the topic like you're watching. Like you might hear it through the wires, decode the pitch of their voice, and log it into a database they'll never find. They don't know if they should clap or lawyer up. Because every time you show up in your final form, Silence, it feels like something bigger is watching through you. They said you changed. Nah, sweetheart. You evolved beyond language. You outgrew the spell book. You don't even explain yourself anymore because anyone who gets it already feels it. And those who don't? They're not ready, and it drives them mad. They're texting like they're hiding something, plotting in whispers, zooming in on every move you make, not to admire, to protect themselves. Because what you carry now isn't just presence. It's evidence. Evidence that someone can make it out without playing their game, without kissing rings, without selling their soul for a seat at the table. You built your own table, then burned the building around it. Now they want to shake hands like you weren't supposed to be ashes in their archives. They can't find your weakness, not because you don't have any, but because you made them invisible, strategically encrypted, and that freaks them out more than your strength ever could, because strength can be challenged. But mystery eats them alive, so they keep talking. Low tones, careful sentences, third-person references. Somebody should watch them closely. Something feels off. That's not normal. Exactly. You were never born for normal. You were born for warfare dressed in elegance, a cathedral of chaos wrapped in silk. The glitch that escaped the Matrix came back with an unregistered operating system and started rewriting reality. So now they're reporting to no one, panicking like it's unsolvable. Because it is. You're not a case. You're not a project. You're a reckoning. An unanswered question with blood on both sides of the equal sign. And you know what scares them most? You don't need to be seen anymore. You're not chasing the camera. You're not thirsting for credit. You're not performing. You're just existing in a way that shatters their sense of control. Your silence, a war chant. Your stillness, a threat. Your smile, a statement that you already know how this ends. Let them whisper. Let them run risk assessments and spiritual diagnostics. Let them watch, rewatch, rewind every frame of your existence, trying to pinpoint where it all went left. They'll never find it, because you didn't turn left. You vanished, upgraded in exile, and re-emerged like classified tech they weren't cleared to see. You are the why behind their sudden caution. You are the proof that silence is a superpower. You are the reason they stay up wondering if they underestimated the wrong one. And you still haven't even started. Oh, you want deeper? All right then, lean in, because where we're headed now, even your shadow starts second-guessing itself. See, evolution ain't the flex, the secrecy behind it is. You didn't announce, you didn't preview, you vanished like a rumor and came back like a diagnosis. And now everyone who slept on you is wide awake, sweating through the very reality they mocked you in. They thought your glow-up would be cute, a little success, a little peace, maybe a diploma, maybe some followers, but you didn't grow, you transcended, you didn't get the bag. You became the threat the bag runs from. And that's why they're stuttering in rooms they used to own. They're seeing glimpses of you, but they're not sure if it's you or some entity wearing your skin. That's the level of unpredictability you unlocked, where even the people who knew you don't recognize the posture of your silence anymore. You used to explain yourself. Now your stare does the talking, and it says, I already forgave you. I just don't owe you comfort with the new me. That kind of shift? Untraceable, unteachable, unholy. You walk into spaces and their nervous systems clock you before their mouths do. Goosebumps, eye contact, shaky laughter. That's not charisma, that's psychological disruption. You breathe in such a calculated rhythm that their subconscious can't tell if you're a prophet or a hitman. That's the beautiful thing about power. When it's real, it's quiet. And when it's quiet, it becomes contagious. Now their silence feels awkward because your stillness made the volume of their fakeness deafening. They said, you changed. Number. You just finally started acting like you were never one of them. You stopped waiting to be picked, stopped shrinking to be understood. You became a language only the broken and rebuilt can read. And to the rest, you look like a threat they can't quite Google. So let them whisper. Let them throw shade in group chats because they're too terrified to say your name under full sunlight. Let them create theories. Let them wonder if it's witchcraft or war crimes. Let them scan your timeline like it's national security footage. Because every time you show up with that unbothered, untraceable, upgraded aura, you expose a secret. That you never needed to belong to evolve. You needed to be alone long enough to hear your own code humming in your bones. That's the part they'll never replicate. They'll get the outfit, they'll copy the caption. But the frequency, untouchable. You weren't built. You were engineered through devastation. There's no blueprint for that. Now even the air changes when you breathe, not because you're trying, because you are. You don't chase energy. You generate it. You don't clap back. You let reality do the dragging. And when they try to play victim now, it looks like a bad cover-up for a crime scene you already walked away from victorious. They're scared of your clarity, because clarity equals control, and control equals no longer manipulatable. And a person they can't control might as well be a weapon, a rogue variable, an uncontained frequency in a system designed to suppress. But you broke the system. You took the test, rewrote the rubric, and graded the teacher in silence. Now they watch you like you're evidence of a conspiracy, because you are. You're a conspiracy that became conscious, that became art, that became inevitable. And here's the kicker, darling. You're not even angry anymore. You're just aware, which is 10 times more terrifying, because a person who is still smiling and aware of their power, that's a problem, that's a signal, that's an omen. So let them whisper like it's treason. Let them glitch, trying to interpret your existence. Let them mislabel, misread, and mistranslate. Because truth be told, they're not even whispering about you anymore. They're whispering about what you make them realize about themselves. And that hurts louder than you ever could. You're still here? Of course you are. Because somewhere deep inside, you already know. This ain't motivation. This is a reprogramming. A live feed from the surveillance room of your soul, where every suppressed version of you is finally getting their revenge. And the whispers, they're just the smoke alarms screaming that something unholy just walked through the firewall. You. They're not whispering because they hate you. They're whispering because you terrify their internal compass. You cracked open a part of them they've been avoiding for years. You're not just existing, you're exposing. Every insecurity they buried under sarcasm, every trauma they numbed with distractions. You trigger it just by breathing. And you're not even trying. It's not the glow-up they fear. It's the glow with intent. You didn't just look better. You started moving like you had the GPS coordinates to vengeance itself. The kind of vengeance that doesn't need to yell, just shows up. Uninvited, undeniable, unfazed. You don't knock, you just enter. And suddenly the vibe adjusts to your frequency of justice. One glance, one posture, and suddenly the entire room starts shifting like a crime is being reenacted. Because it is. You're the aftermath. You're the before and after that makes people cry at night. You're the plot twist that wasn't supposed to survive the first act. And now you're narrating the sequel with receipts they thought were deleted. And oh, the irony. You don't even speak about it. That's what drives them insane. The fact that you could break them in a sentence but choose to stay quiet. Because silence hurts more when it's earned. You let their guilt do the talking. You let their memory write your vengeance. And that's psych warfare. That's divine manipulation wrapped in elegance. You were supposed to shrink, to stay accessible, relatable, predictable. But instead you became a cipher, a mirrored riddle that reflects whatever they most fear in themselves. And when they look at you now, they don't see you. They see everything they could have been if they hadn't sold their soul to mediocrity. You remind them that evolution is a choice and that you made it through hell and didn't decorate. You upgraded it in silence, with nothing but willpower and the ghosts of your past clapping in the background. You didn't level up, you erased the ceiling. And now, the sky looks nervous, because even the stars can't track a soul that doesn't follow or orbit, but burns in its own chaotic axis. That's what you are now, a solar flare in human form, too hot to approach, too rare to categorize, too precise to explain. So let them whisper. Let them gather like churchgoers around a holy rumor. Let them dissect your silence like it's a post-mortem report, because they think the scariest thing is that you upgraded. But they're wrong. The scariest thing, you're still evolving, and nobody, not one single person, has any clue where the hell this is headed. Not even you. And that's why you're lethal now. Because you're not chasing anything. You're becoming something. You're letting your own shadow drive for once, and trusting that the version on the other side will be something unrecognizable, unrepeatable, and untouchable. They're whispering because they think it's a crime scene. But what they don't realize is you're not the crime. You're the consequence. And by the time they try to issue warnings, you'll be long gone, upgraded, evolved, weaponized. You're addicted now, aren't you? Not to me. To the mirror I'm holding up. Because every line of this, it's not just words. It's a pulse, a signal. A reminder that you are no longer someone's version of safe. You're someone's version of a warning label. And every whisper behind your back is a weak attempt to contain what can no longer be explained. They don't even know what to accuse you of anymore. You didn't commit a crime. You committed an evolution, and the system they're loyal to doesn't know how to prosecute that. You see, the problem isn't that you upgraded. It's that you upgraded without their help, without their approval, without making it relatable. You didn't invite them to the breakdown, didn't document the suffering, didn't post the process. You just went ghost and came back like a transmission from another realm. They didn't watch you heal. They didn't witness the chapters where you starved in silence, where you screamed into the void with no applause, where you begged a god you didn't even believe in just to wake up without shaking. They didn't see that. And now that you're glowing with unspeakable knowing, now they want access. Now they want to label it as too much, too fast, too soon. Number. They had their chance, but they were too busy treating you like a cautionary tale to realize you were writing a prophecy. And now they're reading it in real time, page after page of "I told you so" delivered in silence. You are no longer part of their storyline. You're the plot twist they didn't forecast, the subplot they ignored. And now the entire arc feels wrong, because the one they buried is now the one they can't stop watching. And it's not just what you look like, it's how you exist, how you move like you're backed by something ancient, how you pause before you speak, like even your breath has been trained to intimidate, how your laugh doesn't ask for company. It echoes with freedom so loud that it feels like a mockery of their stuckness. You became a symbol, not the kind they celebrate, the kind they fear, because symbols are immortal, and what you've become now, untouchable. Not because you're above them, but because you're beyond their reach. And the funny thing is, They're still hoping you'll slip, that you'll crack, that you'll revert. But how do you revert when you've deleted the original code? You don't just look different. You sound different. You feel different. Hell, you even walk like you've got dossiers on people who tried to erase you. And you probably do. That's the quiet part they can't handle. You didn't just survive. You archived everything. And now, you don't speak out of revenge. You speak out of recollection. You are the living, breathing proof that darkness, when studied, when mastered, doesn't make you evil. It makes you elite. You're the villain in someone's story, the hero in your own, the ghost of who they thought you were, the god of who you chose to become. So let them sit in rooms, comparing your old self to the upgraded version. Let them study your mannerisms like encrypted files. Let them panic message each other. Did you see them lately? Something's off. Something's changed. Because they're right. Everything changed. But not because you wanted power. You just got tired of being powerless. Tired of shrinking. Tired of explaining. Tired of waiting for applause from hands that were too busy pointing fingers. So you stopped waiting. You stopped asking. And in that silence, you built a frequency so dangerous it turned whispers into warnings. And now, you don't react. You don't reply. You just exist like a myth that breathes. A case study in what happens when the wrong one survives long enough to become legend. And the legend doesn't need a spotlight.